Do you believe in ghosts? This question has sparked endless debates, intriguing stories, and chilling tales. Ghosts, apparitions, phantoms, whatever you call them, they've been a part of human lore for centuries. Today, we delve into the ethereal realm of these spectral beings. Let's explore haunted houses, listen to eerie audio recordings, and recount stories from those who swear they've encountered the supernatural. Are there ghosts among us? Or are they figments of our overactive imaginations? Let's discover the truth together. Ghost stories are as old as human civilization itself. As we delve into the annals of history, we find that the earliest recorded ghost stories come from ancient civilizations. The concept of the spiritual realm and the supernatural was deeply intertwined with their religious beliefs and cultural practices. In ancient Egypt, for instance, it was believed that the soul, or Ka, continued its journey after death. This belief led to numerous stories of pharaohs and other nobles returning from the afterlife with their spectral forms appearing in dreams or even walking the palace halls. Similarly, in ancient Greece, the concept of specters and apparitions was central to their mythology. The Greeks believed in the existence of shades, the spirits of the dead that resided in the underworld ruled by Hades. These shades occasionally made their way back to the world of the living, and their tales have been immortalized in epic poems and plays. The Romans, too, were no strangers to ghostly sightings. The story of the Lemures, restless and vengeful spirits of the dead, is a testament to this. These spirits were believed to wander the earth, causing mischief and chaos, until they were appeased with certain rituals. Even in the East, ancient civilizations like those in China and India had their own ghost stories. In China, the Hungry Ghost Festival is a time when the spirits of the deceased are believed to visit the living, a tradition that persists to this day. Similarly, Indian folklore is filled with tales of spirits and specters, with many of these stories deeply rooted in their religious texts. These ancient ghost stories reflect the universal human fascination with death and the afterlife. They show us how our ancestors tried to explain the unexplainable, to make sense of the mysterious world beyond our own. But as we moved into the modern era, ghost sightings took on a new form. The Victorian era was a hotbed for ghost stories and spiritualism. In those days, the boundaries between the realms of the living and the dead were blurred, and many believed they could communicate with spirits. The Victorian era, spanning from the mid to late 19th century, was a period of rapid industrialization and scientific progress. Yet paradoxically, it was also a time of great fascination with the supernatural. This interest was partly fueled by the period's high mortality rates, making death a familiar presence in everyday life. This was the era of spiritualism, a belief system centered around the idea that the spirits of the dead could, and would, communicate with the living. The emergence of spiritualism in the Victorian era was like a wildfire spreading across Europe and America. It wasn't just a fringe belief either, with eminent figures of the era such as Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, the creator of Sherlock Holmes, being staunch supporters. One of the most common ways Victorians sought to communicate with the afterlife was through seances. These were usually hosted by mediums, individuals claiming to have the ability to speak to spirits. Some of the most famous mediums of the time were the Fox sisters, whose purported communications with a spirit in their home sparked a spiritualist movement. These mediums would often produce physical phenomena during seances, such as levitating objects, mysterious knocks, or even ectoplasm, a substance said to be formed by spirits. These displays, while controversial, captivated audiences and further fueled the fascination with the supernatural. But not everyone was convinced. Skeptics argued that these phenomena were simply the result of clever trickery, exploiting the gullible and the bereaved. Famous magician Harry Houdini was a vocal critic of spiritualism, dedicating much of his later life to debunking fraudulent mediums. While some dismiss these occurrences as mere charlatanism, others believe they provide evidence of the afterlife. The Victorian era's fascination with ghosts and the afterlife has left an indelible mark on our culture, influencing our stories, our fears, and our hopes for what lies beyond the veil of death. Whether you believe in ghosts or not, one thing is certain: the allure of the unknown continues to captivate us. Some locations seem to attract more than their fair share of ghostly activity. And haunted houses are no exception. These eerie residences are often the setting for many ghostly tales and encounters, each one more chilling than the last. Take the Winchester Mystery House in San Jose, California. This sprawling mansion with its twisting hallways and dead-end staircases was the obsession of Sarah Winchester, the widow of the famed gunmaker. She believed that she was haunted by the spirits of those killed by Winchester rifles and that the only way to appease them was to continuously build onto her home. The result? A labyrinthine house filled with mystery and an eerie sense of the unseen. Then there's the Myrtles Plantation in St. Francisville, Louisiana. Known as one of America's most haunted homes, this plantation is steeped in a history of death and despair. Its infamous ghost, Chloe, a former slave, is said to wander the grounds, forever trapped in her tragic past. Across the pond in England, we find the Tower of London. This historic castle has been the setting for numerous executions and imprisonments over the centuries, and it's said to be haunted by some of its unfortunate victims. The most famous of these spectral inhabitants? None other than Anne Boleyn, the beheaded second wife of King Henry VIII. And we can't forget the Amityville Horror House. The site of a gruesome family murder in the 70s, this Long Island home was later claimed to be haunted by its new occupants, sparking a media frenzy and a series of horror films. These locations all share a common trait, a tragic history. It's almost as if the sorrow and despair have imprinted themselves onto the very walls of these places, resulting in unexplainable phenomena and sightings. Yet, despite the numerous accounts and stories, the question remains: are these places truly haunted by restless spirits, or are these tales merely the product of our overactive imaginations, fueled by fear and an innate fascination with the unknown? But can a location really be haunted, or is it all just in our minds? In our modern age, we demand evidence, and some claim to have it. Indeed, over the years, numerous pieces of what some might call proof have been presented. These range from photographs and video footage to electronic voice phenomena, commonly known as EVP recordings. But, as with anything in the realm of the supernatural, controversy inevitably surrounds this evidence. Let's consider photographs first. Since the inception of photography, there have been countless images purporting to capture spectral figures. The Brown Lady of Raynham Hall, the ghostly monks of Newby Church, the infamous Freddie Jackson's WI Squadron photo, all have stirred up considerable debate. Some say these are definitive proof of the afterlife, while skeptics argue they are merely the result of double exposure, dust particles, or even clever manipulation. Then we have video footage, a more recent addition to the ghost hunter's toolkit. With the advent of night vision and thermal imaging, we now have videos showing strange orbs of light, shadowy figures, and unexplained movements. Yet these too are not without their detractors. Critics point out that these anomalies could be due to camera glitches, reflections, or even insects flying close to the lens. Perhaps the most chilling evidence comes in the form of EVP recordings. These are audio recordings that supposedly capture the voices of the deceased. From whispers to full sentences, these ghostly utterances can be unnerving. However, skeptics argue that these could be radio interference, background noise, or the power of suggestion leading us to hear what we want to hear. So, what do we make of all this? Each piece of evidence, when viewed alone, might easily be dismissed, but when considered as part of a larger body of work, it becomes harder to ignore the possibility that something unexplained may be at play. So, is this evidence of the paranormal, or just clever trickery? Each of us must decide for ourselves. But one thing is for sure, the debate about the existence of ghosts continues to haunt us. For some, the evidence they need is personal experience. This is where the abstract idea of ghosts takes a chilling turn into the realm of reality. We're talking about individuals who claim to have seen or encountered these spectral beings. Their stories, as varied as they may be, share a common thread: a brush with the inexplicable. Take for instance a man named James. James was a skeptic, not one to believe in the supernatural. But one night he was alone in his old family home, when he saw a figure standing in the hallway. It was a woman, dressed in outdated clothing, with a sorrowful expression. As he approached, she vanished into thin air. This experience shook James to his core and made him question his previously held beliefs. Then there's Sarah, a woman who never doubted the existence of ghosts. She grew up hearing whispers in her house, seeing objects move on their own, and feeling an unseen presence. For her, these experiences were not terrifying, but rather a part of her everyday life. She believes that these spirits are not malevolent, but are simply lost souls trying to communicate. Another story comes from Alex, a seasoned night guard at an old museum. He routinely heard footsteps echoing through the empty halls and doors opening and closing on their own. For Alex, these experiences were more intriguing than scary. He felt that these occurrences were evidence of a spectral inhabitant, perhaps a former curator still attached to the museum's collection. These personal experiences can profoundly impact one's life and beliefs. James, who was once a skeptic, now acknowledges the possibility of a world beyond our own. Sarah, meanwhile, has become a paranormal investigator. She dedicates her time to helping both the living and the dead find peace. Alex, on the other hand, has learned to coexist with his ghostly companion, finding solace in the thought that we're never truly alone. It's important to remember that these stories are personal experiences. They are subjective and can be influenced by various factors such as belief systems, psychological states, and cultural backgrounds. Some might dismiss these tales as mere hallucinations or tricks of the mind. Others might see them as authentic encounters with the spirit world. Whether you believe these stories or not, they certainly give us something to think about. Because, when it comes to the question of ghosts, personal experiences often hold more weight than any scientific evidence. And who knows, maybe one day you'll have a ghost story of your own to tell. Despite all these stories and evidence, the debate over the existence of ghosts continues. This has always been a field of contention, with believers and skeptics locked in an endless tug-of-war. On one side of the debate are those who passionately believe in the existence of ghosts. They point to countless anecdotes, personal experiences, and strange occurrences that seem to defy explanation. They argue that the sheer volume of ghostly encounters, spanning different cultures and centuries, is too significant to dismiss. For them, these spectral apparitions are more than mere figments of the imagination. They are a chilling testament to an unseen world that exists parallel to ours. Then, there are those who remain steadfastly skeptical. They argue that in an age of science and reason, there's no room for such ethereal entities. These skeptics bring up logical and scientific explanations for what many perceive as ghostly phenomena. They opine that what we often ascribe to the supernatural can be explained by natural occurrences. For instance, infrasound, which is sound at frequencies lower than 20 Hz, can cause feelings of unease or dread, and even hallucinations. These effects are often mistaken for a ghostly presence. Similarly, sleep paralysis, a condition where one wakes up unable to move or speak, is often accompanied by hallucinations and a sense of an ominous presence which many misinterpret as a ghostly encounter. Additionally, skeptics point to the power of suggestion and confirmation bias. They argue that if people are told a place is haunted, they are more likely to interpret ordinary sounds and sights as ghostly phenomena. In the end, the debate boils down to personal belief and interpretation of the available evidence. Some find comfort and intrigue in the possibility of a spectral world, while others cling to the tangible and the scientifically explainable. Whether ghosts are real or not, they certainly hold a powerful place in our collective imagination. And perhaps, that's the most fascinating aspect of it all. The ghostly debate, more than anything, sheds light on the human need to explore, explain, and ultimately understand the mysteries of our universe. So, do ghosts really exist? That's for you to decide. We've journeyed together through the annals of history, exploring ancient tales of phantoms and spirits that have been passed down through generations. We've ventured into the eerie world of the Victorian era, where an obsession with spiritualism and the afterlife took hold, leading to seances and spirit photography. We've wandered the halls of haunted houses, where chilling events have unfolded and continue to perplex those brave enough to enter. We've examined ghostly evidence, which ranges from ethereal images caught on camera to spine-tingling audio recordings that seem to capture the voices of those who've passed on. We've listened to personal experiences, stories shared by individuals who have encountered what they believe to be spirits. Each account, unique and compelling, adds another layer to the complex tapestry of ghostly lore. Throughout this journey, the debate continues. Some firmly believe in the existence of ghosts, citing personal experiences or unexplainable phenomena as proof. Others remain skeptical, requiring tangible, irrefutable evidence to be swayed. Whether you're a believer or a skeptic, it's undeniable that the question of ghosts stirs something deep within us. It challenges our understanding of the world and forces us to confront the unknown. It's a conversation that transcends cultures and spans centuries, continually evolving yet always rooted in our collective curiosity. As we conclude, I encourage you to reflect on what we've explored. Consider the stories, the evidence, the personal accounts. What do they mean to you? Does the idea of ghosts resonate with you, sending a shiver down your spine, or do you dismiss it as mere folklore and coincidences? Remember, there's no right or wrong answer. The existence of ghosts is a question that continues to intrigue and mystify. It's a topic that invites discussion, introspection, and a healthy dose of skepticism. So, don't hesitate to share your thoughts, experiences, and beliefs. The next time you hear a bump in the night, remember, it could just be a ghost saying hello.